All right, this is section 8.3, define and use zero and negative exponents. So first of all, we're going to learn what's called zero property. So zero property is any number raised to the zero power is always going to equal 1 every time. The next is negative exponent property. So if you have a negative exponent, you cannot leave it negative. So the way to make it positive is you make a fraction and drop it under 1. The same thing goes with if you have a negative exponent in your denominator, you can raise it above 1 and make it a positive exponent. So first question, 5 to the 0 power, that would equal 1. Anything to the 0 power equals 1. Okay, 5 to the negative 2 power. So I have to drop this under 1 to make it 5 squared. And then that equals 1 over 25. All right, so this we're going to apply properties we've already learned. So we have to distribute this negative 2 to the 1/5. So what we could do is drop the whole entire thing under 1. So 1 over 1/5. And then instead of raising it to the negative 2 power, since you put it under 1, it would now be squared. And 1/5 squared is 1/25. So then if I go through and simplify this and I actually divide 1 divided by 1/25, you would end up getting an answer of 25. Okay, 2/3 to the 0 power is 1. Negative 8 to the negative 2 power. So again, I can't leave my exponent negative. Your base can be negative, but not your exponent. So I'm going to put this under 1. So negative 8 in parentheses raised to the second power. When you put this in your calculator, you need to make sure that you use parentheses or it will not come out to be the correct answer. Because your correct answer should be 1 over 64. All right, for this problem, we have 1 over 2 to the negative 3. So we're going to actually cross this over the fraction bar and put this in the numerator. So 2 to the 3rd over 1. And 2 to the 3rd equals 8. So 8 over 1, or you could just write it as 8. All right, so now we're going to combine multiple properties. So first, we're going to make this, all right, so this is multiplication. So the product property. And whenever you have multiplication, you're actually adding. So 6 to the negative 4 plus 4 would end up being 6 to the 0 power. And anything to the 0 power is 1. So we're going to be combining properties over the next few problems. 4 to the negative 2 raised to the second power. So that's product or power to a power. So this would be 4 to the negative 2 times 2, which is 4 to the negative 4. And I cannot leave that negative, so I have to drop it under 1. So 1 over 4 to the 4th. And then I can go ahead and calculate 4 to the 4th and get 1 over 256. Negative 3 to the 5th power times negative 3 to the negative 5th. So again, this is multiplication. So we add negative 3 to the 5 plus negative 5 would give you negative 3 to the 0. And anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, this is division, so we're going to use the quotient property, which tells us to subtract. So we're going to go ahead and just subtract the numerator minus the denominator. So 6 and then negative 2 minus 2 So that would be a -4. So 6 to the -4 power. And then I cannot leave that negative, so I put that under 1. 1 over 6 to the 4th. And then I calculate 6 to the 4th and get 1,296. Okay, so now we are going to combine power to a power. So here we have to essentially distribute the third power to everything. So 2 to the third power, x to the third power, and then y, and that would be -5 times 3 power. So I'm going to go ahead and calculate 2 to the third power, and that equals 8. And then I still have x to the third, and then y would end up being to the -15th power. And I cannot leave y to the -15th, so I have to bring that underneath. Basically, I'm going to make this whole entire problem a fraction. So I'm going to have 8x to the third on top, and then I'm going to have y to the 15th in the denominator. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to distribute the third power. So 3 to the third, x to the -2 times 3, and y to the 2 times 3. So that would equal 3 to the third is 27. And then we would have x to the -6, y to the +6. So we have to do the same thing here. We have to drop x down into the denominator. And in the numerator, we would be left with 27y to the 6 over x to the 6. Okay, so this one is a multi-step problem. First, we need to take care of the parentheses. So we're going to essentially distribute that -2. And we're going to have 2 to the -2, not y, x to the -2. And then I'm just going to rewrite everything else. Y to the 5th, -4, x squared, y squared. Okay, so now I'm going to apply multiple properties. In order to get rid of these negative exponents, I'm going to drop them across the fraction bar. So in the denominator, I'm going to have -4, and I'm going to take that times 2 squared. And then I also need to bring x squared down. So I'm going to have the original x squared, and I'm going to add the second x squared from the top. And then in the bottom, I still have y squared. And then in my numerator, I'm only left with y to the 5th. Okay, so I'm going to go through and simplify this. So -4 times 2 squared would be -4 times 4, which is -16. And then x squared times x squared, you have to add your exponents. So you would get an x to the 4th, and then I have y squared, and then I still have y to the 5th on top. Okay, so the only thing I have left to do is to simplify my y's and subtract them. So I would have 5 minus 2, which would give me y to the 3rd on top, and then I have -16 x to the 4th in the denominator. Okay, so with this problem, we are going to use the quotient property. So this is really an x to the first power and a y to the first power. So first I'm going to simplify 3 over 9. So 3 over 9 would turn into 1/3, and I don't really need that 1. And then I'm going to do quotient property. So I'm going to actually subtract my largest x minus my smallest x. So this happens to be the largest x, and it happens to be in the denominator. So that means my x's are going to stay in the denominator. So I'm going to have x to the 3 minus 1, which ends up being x squared. And then my y also happens to be the largest because 1 is bigger than -3. So I'm going to have y and then 1 minus a negative 3, which would add up because it's double negative. So it would become y to the 4th. And then I am not left with anything in my numerator, so I do have to end up putting my 1 up there. And then that problem is finished. Okay, so then the most difficult problem so far, and the last one. So I'm going to distribute this negative 4 to everything. So 3 to the negative 4, x to the 7th times negative 4, y to the 9th times negative 4, over 5 to the negative 4, x to the 5 times negative 4, and y to the 2 times negative 4. Okay, so I'm going to go through and kind of simplify this the best I can. So 3 to the negative 4, and then that would become x to the negative 28, y to the negative 36, over 5 to the negative 4, x to the negative 20, and y to the negative 8. Okay, so here's what we can do. Since every single thing is negative and we need to make it positive, we essentially need to flip-flop our numerator and denominator. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to change everything positive. So 5 to the 4th, x to the 20th, y to the 8th is my old denominator brought up to the numerator. And then 3 to the 4th, x to the 28th, y to the 36. Okay, so then I need to start simplifying. So 5 to the 4th equals 625. And then again, or 3 to the 4th, go ahead and calculate that. That's 81. And then I need to look at where is my largest x. So my largest x is right here. So I'm going to take my denominator minus my numerator. So x to the 28 minus 20, which would end up being x to the 8th power. And then I have to do the same thing with my y. So my largest y is in the denominator. So I have to take y to the 36 minus 8, which ends up being y to the 28th power. Okay, and the last thing I need to do is check and see if 625 over 81 can be simplified. And it cannot. So that problem is done. So your homework assignment is a textbook page 506.